Hi again, first grade friends. So this is part 2 of our reading blog. This is the part where we normally will read that story aloud. So I want you guys to think back of the last story that we did read together. It was about how the Egyptians wrote, I guess, their words, and instead of using letters like we do, they use the hieroglyphs. So they use pictures instead of letters to represent every letter and write down sentences like that. And before I guess we started our online learning, you guys did the exact same thing too. So you guys did pretty good with that. I was very, very happy with what you all did. So today we're going to actually move on to something else. So, what I want you guys to think of is back when we were learning about Mesopotamia, um, it did say that in Mesopotamia they had many, many different gods, right? And I told you guys to think of the Greek gods and goddesses, how they had like Zeus, Apollo, they had Persephone, and all of those other gods like that. So today we are actually going to learn about Amon Ra and the gods of Egypt. And this is a pretty cool story. So I hope you guys. All right, so I want you all to get ready right now to travel back in time into ancient Egypt to visit Marit and her family again. The old stories from Egypt said that some of the gods and goddesses looked like specific animals the Egyptians saw around them in their own country, or a mixture of animals and human beings. For example, one common Egyptian bird was a small hawk called a falcon. The ancient Egyptians believed in a god named Horus, who is depicted or shown in pictures or described in words as a man's body topped with the head of a falcon. Another of their gods, Sobek, was depicted with a human body but the head of a crocodile. There have always been real crocodiles living along the banks of the Nile River, and they are always hungry. They often try to catch and eat other animals. In the old days, people believed in Sobek, the god with the crocodile's head, so they could pray to him to keep real crocodiles away. The Egyptians were careful to say nice things about him. See, they would say, we made a handsome statue of you, great Sobek, and we will leave meat and fish in front of the statue for you to eat. Another Egyptian god was depicted as a cat, another as a hippopotamus, and so on. Others looked completely human, but were still thought to have some special powers. The ancient Egyptians' most important god had different names in different parts of Egypt. Some people called him Amon. Some called him Ra. Sometimes they put these both together as Amon Ra. These were all names for the Egyptian god of the sun, whom they said created everything, including many of the other gods and goddesses. You just heard some real ideas the ancient Egyptians had when it came to their religious beliefs. Let's listen as Marit's mother tells her a story about Amon Ra and the Egyptian god of the sun, and what the ancient Egyptians believed about the creation of the world. Marit and her mother were washing clothes down at the edge of the Nile. Marit's mother said Amon Ra started out by living inside a large, beautiful flower called a lotus. In those days, everything was covered with water, and the lotus flower was under the waves. Finally, Amon Ra thought, it is time for this lotus to rise up out of the water and open its petals, and because he was powerful, it happened. That is amazing, Marit said. She turned to set some wet clothes on a large rock so the sun would dry them. Her mother replied, you have not yet heard the most wonderful part. After the lotus blossom opened, Amon Ra said, now I will make everything else in the world, just by thinking about each thing and using my powers. I will think up other powerful gods and goddesses so I won't be lonely. I will make stars and planets, the sun and the moon, and the birds, fish, plants, and animals, and I will make the first human beings too. After he made everything, Amon Ra picked up the sun and put it into a big boat. The whole sun? Asked Marit. Yes. Amon Ra is very strong. He sailed his boat with the sun in it across the whole sky until he reached the other side. Then he rested and did it again the next day. He still does this every day.
and when he rests, it is night. What do you think the Egyptians were trying to explain with this story? Marie thought this over and asked, well, why can't we see him or his boat? Maybe he and the boat are too far away, up in the air. We can only see the bright sun shining from the back. Or perhaps the sun is so bright that we cannot look carefully enough to see the boat. After all, you must not stare at the sun. That will hurt your eyes. Marie said, well, I'm glad Amon Ra made the sun, or we could not try our laundry. And Marie's mother laughed. Wasn't that such a great story? All right, so what I want you guys to do for your assignment today, I want you to find a piece of paper and I want you to draw your own Egyptian god. Remember, they're a combination between an animal and a human. And most likely, they have like the top half of an animal. So they'd have the head of a hawk, like Horus. Or, if you look back into the story, or think back into the story, Beak, the god that was half of a crocodile. What I want you guys to do, draw your gods, and then I want you to send them to me so I can see them too. And maybe in tomorrow's video, I'll show some of those pictures to all of you so you guys can see what everybody else did, okay? I'm looking really, really, really forward to seeing what you guys can do. All right, thank you.